Chapter 1. I work until 1 p.m. on Saturdays. She wouldn't tell me where. I can meet you at Gibby's at 2 p.m. You know where that is. I grew up in Melbourne. Everyone knows where Gibby's Coffee Lounge is. She smiled at me. Not too big a smile and definitely not a come-hither smile. She was too classy for that. We had danced together since I walked into the hall. Fitzroy Town Council had allowed a women's auxiliary to put on a dance to entertain the soldiers who were home on leave. I'll bet that the councillors felt that it was better to have the servicemen all in one place instead of roaming around looking for an excuse to defile their daughters. During our second dance, I had to give the glare to some army sergeant to get him from cutting in. I told her that I only had a couple of days' leave before I was due back in England. My dark blue uniform and the gold wings on my breast pocket didn't hurt my chances with the ladies. All girls love a uniform. But she wasn't a girl, and I think that she looked past the uniform, which made me nervous. I don't reveal myself to people easily, especially not women. She was a few years older than most of the young women at the dance. I could see it in her eyes. Before the war, there were groups of men and women who would come early to the dance because they wanted the floor to themselves. They were there to dance, and anything else that might happen was secondary. Molly was an unofficial member of this informal association of lovers of dance. The hall was beginning to get crowded, and Molly's friends were tugging at her sleeve. "Come on, Mont, it's getting past that time." I must have looked quizzical because she said to me, "Friends call me Mont." My little brother couldn't pronounce Molly, and it stuck. "I don't care what they call you as long as you meet me tomorrow. Don't forget that I'm due back at the front." I placed my hand over my heart in an exaggerated silent movie pose. She smiled again, just a little one. She understood my World War I jest. A beautiful face, not frightened to smile, well dressed on a shop girl's wages, and she has a sense of humour. I'm going to enjoy this leave. During our brief encounter, I did manage to find out that she worked in a sweets shop somewhere in the city. But when I pressed her, she said, "Those details are boring. A person needs to eat, so a person works. It's better than working in a knitting mill and not as good as working as a nanny, but it pays the bills. Well, half the bills. My sister pays the other half." Her friends whisked her away, and they were soon absorbed into the ever-increasing crowd, and I was left to ponder how I was going to fill up the rest of my evening. I wandered around looking for a drink and maybe a little trouble, but in the end my heart wasn't in it. I found a place that was selling sly grog. Other than that, trouble wasn't looking for me. I didn't really mind. My senses were still reeling. I could hear her voice and I could smell her perfume. She had style and taste. Her scent must have cost more than a week's wages. The RAAF had me billeted at a small hotel on Little Collins Street. I could have travelled to Ferntree Gully and caught a bus to Belgrave, but I knew how my mother would react. She would have invited all the neighbours and any relatives within a 100-mile radius. I couldn't face the fuss. I'll visit them on Friday and be on my flight on Saturday night. This is precious time, and I don't want to spend it travelling around. One day of having my father look at me with those sad eyes is about all I can take. He was in the trenches during the First World War, and he saw what happened to flyers. He's convinced that the same thing is going to happen to me. I'm strongly ambivalent about death, my own that is. I have to stay alive or my crew won't make it home. Bombers don't fly themselves, and every time we go up, they expect the crazy Australian to bring them back alive. The other crews are starting to look at us strangely. We have never had a crew member injured, let alone killed. We refuse to paint a naked woman on the side of our ship, and we don't have a name for her. Half of the other crews think we are crazy and that we will not come home one day, and the other half are beginning to believe that we're charmed.